Another group of names that Tottenham are supposedly trying to sign in this crazy January transfer window. The latest two names are Juventus duo Dejan Kulusevski and Rodrigo Bentancur, as Ndombele's move to PSG falls apart, and Giovani Lo Celso and Bryan Gil both near the exit door. A little bit closer to it with their loan deals to Lyon and Valencia, respectively. Well, look, today we're going to dive through all of this. We're going to talk about Kulusevski, we're going to talk about Bentancur, we're going to talk about a few other incomings that haven't really gotten off the ground in the last couple of days, and also all of those outgoings. Before we do get into that, if you are new to the channel, make sure to smash that subscribe button down below. This is your number one place for transfer content regarding Spurs over the next 3 days. We will be streaming tomorrow, and we will be streaming right up to the deadline on Monday night to keep you up to date with all of that. And look, we've so much to get through. We have to dive straight into this, and we'll start with Dejan Kulusevski, who Tottenham have made a very good offer for. And I'm going to say this about Kulusevski and Bentancur. If our window hadn't gone in the way it's done, with what we're hearing right now, I would say I think these deals are going to get done. But because of what happens with Luis Diaz, because of what happened with Adama, and because of what may be happening with Sofian Amrabat, believe it or not, I'm not gonna go there just yet. But excluding the context of the window, these are deals that are looking likely to happen, if that makes sense. We'll start with this. Fabrizio Romano has said that Tottenham are offering a loan with an option to buy for €30 million, which could become mandatory for Dejan Kulusevski. Juventus want a guaranteed mandatory clause of €40 million. So, according to Romano, we're still a little bit away from agreeing that deal with Juventus, both in terms of the fee that Tottenham will be paying and also the structure of that deal, because it seems it's an option to buy that will become an obligation if certain criteria are met. Now, looking at Galini's move to Spurs, for example, that's within, I think it's if he makes 20 appearances, that will then become permanent. And I assume there's something similar in for Lo Celso and Gedson Fernandes when we got them on loan initially. Juve want that to be a straight up, immediate obligation to buy, which Spurs, I can understand, will be a little bit wary of that. A player who hasn't really played in the Premier League, he's still only 21 years of age. And I'm actually going to talk about my kind of concerns with potential deals for Kulusevski and Bentancur. But before we say that, Romano says Tottenham are working on Kulusevski right now. The conversations are progressing. He says Dejan Kulusevski is keen on a move to Tottenham, which is, of course, a very good way to start these negotiations. We've looked at in the last couple of days Adama Traore, perhaps not ever wanting that move to Spurs to play right wing back, and Frank Kessie as well. Some reports in Italy suggesting we'd agreed a deal with AC Milan for the player, which then just didn't happen because Kessie wanted to wait until the summer. Well, because Kulusevski is keen on this move. Romano also says that Antonio Conte previously wanted to sign Tottenham target Dejan Kulusevski during his tenure as Inter Milan manager. We hear that with every deal for Tottenham, and players like Conte and Paratici identified that they wanted them at previous clubs. Romeo Agresti, who is the number one journalist for Juventus, said that Tottenham are now laying out the framework to sign Kulusevski, so he's confirming that Tottenham are trying to get that deal done. Brian Daigle, good to see you in the live chat. We got Christopher Ryan as well. We got Ryan, little big man. Every time I tweet my streams, he's the first one liking and retweeting. Ryan is. Thanks a million for tuning in and for that. Good to see everyone in the live chat, of course. David Ornstein was one of the first to talk about Kulusevski to Tottenham yesterday. He said Tottenham are trying to sign the forward. If the move happens, the deal is expected to be a loan with an obligation or option to buy. So that's still up in the air at the moment and needs to be agreed. Sky Italia as well are saying that Tottenham are looking to complete a double deal for Bentancur and Kulusevski before the window closes. We're going to go into a bit more detail on Bentancur in a second, but Sky Italia earlier today said that there is still a distance between Tottenham and Juventus on the figures for the Kulusevski deal. So again, with what Romano said, potentially between 30 and 40 million is the gap between the two clubs at the moment. Gianluca Di Marzio has kind of reiterated what Romano said, that there is an offer for a loan with an obligation to buy should certain conditions be met on the table from Tottenham for Kulusevski. A few extra points there from him. He said Tottenham always look at Juventus to try to find new reinforcements for the team. And that, in a way, is where my biggest concerns are coming from with these deals, which I'll touch on after we speak about Bentancur. But Di Marzio also saying that Kulusevski doesn't fit into Allegri's plans. The Italian Giants don't want to sell or loan the Swedish international to an Italian club. So they don't want him, but they don't want any other team in the Serie A to have him either. And it's a bit of a surprise for me that he's not in the plans. Maybe long term it's understandable, but at the moment, with Federico Chiesa out for the rest of the season with his ACL injury, you'd expect Kulusevski to be a player they'd want to rotate if needed, or God forbid they get another injury to try and deal with those absentees. But they seem happy to let him go at the moment. Simon Stone at the BBC says that Tottenham are working on a loan deal for Juventus winger Dejan Kulusevski, which will be made permanent in the summer. Alfredo Padula says that Kulusevski is a priority for Antonio Conte. Gianluigi Langari says that a deal is approaching. It could be happening soon. And Tutto Mercato, I think, have jumped the gun a little bit on this one, saying that Spurs have reached an agreement on the figures with Juventus for Kulusevski. The clubs just need to now agree the formula. So that seems a bit self-contradictory. I think what they're saying is we have agreed the numbers of the deal, but in terms of option or obligation or the kind of finer details of that at the end of the loan still has to be agreed. Now, a bit of a concern here is two journalists reporting. Rudy Galletti says that Arsenal are monitoring the situation with AC Milan also looking on, and Langari says that Arsenal are in the background with the Spurs and Kulusevski deal. So if this is one that doesn't happen, that doesn't go through, maybe Arsenal could then swoop in and try and make something happen. But the where it's going at the moment, it's looking positive for Tottenham to maybe get this one done. We got Bobby in the live chat again. Again, Bobby, so great to see you. Says, with Gil going out on loan potentially, how does it reflect in Paratici? And that is a good question, because people are being very critical of Paratici's first window. And I think given how it's worked out this season and how we needed to improve the team immediately, the first window wasn't good enough. And Bryan Gil was a player who, Will in the live chat as well, will tell you, as he was saying from day one, he's not one that improves the team immediately. You know, he may be a good long-term signing, but right now he's just not what we needed. And I don't think it's a criticism of, I don't think it's a bad reflection of Paratici's target and like the player that he went for, but maybe it's a bad reflection on what he saw as a priority, if that makes sense. And he went for that long-term deal rather than the immediate fix to the problems that we have. But we will talk a bit more about Bryan Gil a little bit later. Onto Rodrigo Bentancur, and in the last couple of days it was Aston Villa that were looking to bring in the player. They made a bid to Juventus. I think it was in the region of £20 million to try and sign him. Romeo Agresti has today said that Tottenham are now in pole position to complete the signing of Rodrigo Bentancur from Juventus before the deadline. Spurs have submitted a higher offer than Villa. Now, as I said with Kulusevski, Agresti is the number one Juventus journalist. He is their equivalent of Alistair Gold. He's Barcelona's equivalent of, he's their equivalent of Gerard Romero for Barcelona, for example. And he goes on to say that Villa have withdrawn from the race for Bentancur. So Tottenham right now seem to be the only team in there. Lyon had been mentioned, but looking at how that deal with Lo Celso is progressing, I would assume they have dropped out of that. Tottenham in pole position to sign the player. Fabrizio Romano says as well, Tottenham are in the race to sign Juventus midfielder Bentancur. Tottenham had initially asked for him on loan. So Romano said this when he was speaking about our bid for Kulusevski. He said that Tottenham had asked for Bentancur on loan, but Juventus are not accepting that. It seems since then Tottenham have decided, okay, we'll make this a permanent deal. We'll try and get something sorted. So it looks like they gone back in after the loan bid was rejected. And as DiMarzio says, Tottenham have made a €30 million plus bonuses bid for Rodrigo Bentancur of Juventus. And the point that's made there in terms of why Juve may let him go, this could therefore be more convincing for the Italian club who are trying for Zaccaria. So Juventus' number one target at the moment, a player they're actively and very close to signing, is Denis Zaccaria from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Plays in a similar position to Bentancur. If they can let Bentancur go, they can get Zaccaria in, or if they get the new player in, they can let the old player go, if that makes sense. So with Kulusevski, he's a player that may in some way be needed for Juventus, and they're letting him go can be a concern, but for Bentancur, one in, one out, it makes sense for them. Sky Sports also say that Tottenham have joined Aston Villa in the race to sign Juventus midfielder Rodrigo Bentancur. Gianluigi Langari says Spurs have already made a proposal. Daniela Longo, another Italian journalist, says Tottenham are hoping Juventus will accept their offer of a loan with an expensive option to buy for Bentancur. Spurs have a positive feeling. So that he's saying it will be an initial loan, then with the option to buy afterwards. A few less reliable reports from Italy, my least favourite outlets in Calcio Mercato and Tutto Mercato. The former of those say Tottenham want to go shopping at Juventus in the final days of the market. Conte likes Bentancur. And he and Kulusevski could both take a one-way ticket to London, and Tutto Mercato say Spurs are trying hard to sign Bentancur. Now, they're two very good players. They are two very, very good players. Looking at Kulusevski, we spoke about him on the channel a couple of months ago, and there's a link at the top of the description to a video I did with Alex, the Euro expert, which you don't go to now, go to it at the end of the video. It's about a minute and a half where we speak about Kulusevski and a potential move to Spurs. I think in terms of the kind of like wide strikers that Antonio Conte looks for and that I speak about quite a bit, the position that Matteo Politano and Alexis Sanchez played at Inter Milan last season, Kulusevski, like a Luis Diaz, fits that very well. Because Kulusevski, while he is a winger, as you'll see in the player profile beside me in a second, he also can play in a central role, and he can and has played up top before. So he has the ability in all these different things, and even when he does play as a winger, he's not a traditional winger. He's not like a wide player, if that makes sense. He plays in something similar to a Metsala role, which is like an inverted winger. He likes to come in into the central areas, pick up space in between the lines as a left footer playing on the right hand side. So I think he fits what we're doing very well, whether it's that 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3. I think he can fit into both of those, and the fact that he has that versatility is really important. You see Kevin Orr there in the live chat tweeted out about half an hour ago saying that he has the ability to break down low blocks, which Tottenham absolutely lack and have lacked for so long. So Kulusevski does have that ability. Bentancur, in terms of ball progression, ball recovery, and kind of the overall work that we need to improve in the middle of our park, he has the ability to do that. Maybe not to the level of a player that we'd like to have in that position long term and to get us right back to the top level, but he's better than what we have in there now. He's better than Højbjerg, he's better than Skip, he's better than Harry Winks. We got G Just Juve, Giuseppe in the live chat. Yeah, everyone, remember, I always say this, it's still pinned to the top of my YouTube channel. The video I did with Giuseppe on Conte and Paratici, my favourite video I've ever done on this channel. Great to see you, Giuseppe, and like I said, if we sign the two of these players, you're coming back on this channel whether you like it or not, to discuss them. Thank you so much for tuning in, my friend. It's always good to see you. But as I was saying, my concern with maybe getting these two players in from Juventus, it feels as though this could be Juve and Paratici to some extent maybe doing each other a favour. And it could work out well for Spurs, because again, these are two talented players, but Juve don't want Kulusevski. He's not in their plans, if we're to believe the reports that are out there. And they want to get in a midfielder, so letting Bentancur go is beneficial to them. So for the selling club, it's beneficial there. For Paratici, as Matt Law said yesterday, a sense of panic and a sense of fear and anger has taken over Hotspur Way, and they're worried that this window could come to nothing. It's almost, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's a lot less stressful, and it's a lot more, I think deals can get done faster. Paratici goes back to this club that he knows, goes for players that he knows, and if they don't work out, they can still be seen as high-profile signings, and they can still be something where Paratici can say, or Levy, whoever you think is in charge of these, can say, well, at least we tried, or at least we did something. So for me, there is a kind of concern that something like that may happen, but I trust in the quality of these players that it won't, that isn't what it is, and that they can come in and actually be very, very good signings for Tottenham. Golden says, come on, Maddie, he's not Diaz level. Oh, he's not Diaz level. Kulusevski is not Diaz level at all. I don't believe that. I think they're similar in style from one side to the other. They're not similar quality or anything, but Kulusevski is still a very good player. A few other bits to touch on. Sofian Amrabat could be the next player in a long list of deals that Tottenham have not been able to complete this window. And Fabrizio Romano has said Tottenham know they have to be fast for the Sofian Amrabat deal, because Fiorentina have been approached by other clubs while they wait for Spurs to submit a loan plus buy option proposal. And look, if he's another player that we end up not getting, I don't think the frustration will be as bad as it was with Adama and with Diaz. But it's still gonna, I think, fuel the fire of people who want any little piece of information they can get to fuel their narrative, to fuel the agenda. Brian there is telling me to check my WhatsApp. I've got a tweet here from Chris Cowlin. It says, Fabrizio Romano told Chris Cowlin a while ago, Tottenham will focus on the summer market. They knew January will be difficult. Also depends on Champions League football, but it will be a busy time for Spurs. Look, I think we will still get business done now, but the summer window is expected to be a lot bigger for Spurs. The focus will go there, but as I've said all along, we need to get into the Champions League. And Romano mentions it there. We need to get Champions League to have the biggest summer market that we can. Lazy8, thank you so much for joining the membership. I really do appreciate that. Welcome to Championship level. You're an absolute legend. But back to Amrabat. We have other options there. We have Bentancur, I would imagine, is our prime midfield option over Amrabat. So I feel Amrabat, maybe like Adama Traore is a kind of backup option there if our main target doesn't work out. So I'm not too worried about that. But Amrabat is a decent backup option. Not as good a backup option as Adama was, but he's a decent one. Two other players that I've mentioned, Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa. There were reports from the Daily Mail today said reports from the Daily Mail today say that Tottenham are preparing a £32 million bid for Aston Villa midfielder Douglas Luiz, who is out of contract in 18 months. Romano said he's a player in Tottenham's list, but whether a bid has been made, I think is I think we're a bit unsure on that. Another player is Alvaro Morata, and it's kind of conflicting reports on this one, because Fabrizio Romano said that Tottenham wanted Morata on loan, but Atletico Madrid wanted a permanent deal. And Gary Jacobs says that Spurs, Arsenal and Newcastle have been offered the chance to sign Morata on loan. So some conflicting reports there, but I don't think it's a deal that would happen, and I don't think it's the end of the world if it doesn't happen. But one deal that could be bad for Spurs if it doesn't happen is one that does seem to have fallen apart, and that is Tanguy Ndombele's move to PSG. Julian Maynard has said that Tanguy Ndombele will not join PSG. Fairly definitive there in that one. He says PSG were unable to free up the space in their squad. His wages were not an issue, as Romano told me on this channel a couple of nights ago. PSG had agreed to pay 100% of Ndombele's wages, but he says the midfielder has several other options, including Valencia. As we know, Valencia have agreed a 6-month loan deal with Spurs. Just need to convince Ndombele, just need to get the personal terms sorted. But according to Julian Maynard, Ndombele to PSG is off. The last Romano has said on that is the move looks really complicated right now. He's also mentioned that Tottenham are working to offload Ndombele and or Dele Alli in order to sign a new midfielder. RMC Sport, in the way of Loic Tanzi and Hadrien Grenier, said yesterday that PSG are stalling for Ndombele, which seemed to be the beginning of this deal unravelling. They also said that Tanguy Ndombele has opened the door to clubs other than PSG as he looks to leave Tottenham. Everton, Bayer Leverkusen and Valencia are all in the race to sign him. On Bryan Gil, Carla says you're cutting up. I apologise. It's usually just the video that cuts up because my computer isn't strong enough to handle it. I will be replacing that very soon, but I hope the audio is okay. Bryan Gil, who seems to be the closest move to leaving Spurs at the moment. Fabrizio Romano say that Valencia are pushing for Bryan Gil loan deal to be completed with Tottenham. Salary coverage is discussed. Valencia are still confident to get this deal done. And he says in those words that Gil is the closest Spurs player to leaving the club. Only a matter of details now, and then the deal could be completed. And this one to me feels like a deal that Tottenham have ready to go if we sign Kulusevski, or if we sign another winger, we can then let Gil go, because we're not going to let him go if we don't bring players in, because we're already short on players in a lot of positions. So I think this is one they're just getting ready to go. And again, that's why for me I feel Paratici is more in charge of transfers at the minute instead of Daniel Levy, because there's too much planning. I know things are falling apart, but in terms of preparation and planning, it's done too well that when Diaz falls apart, we have this guy, we have Kulusevski, or when Adama goes to Diaz, when we miss out on Amrabat, it goes to Bentancur. I feel like that's going too well. The backup options for it to be Daniel Levy, but hey, I know a lot of people disagree in that one. Romano said this morning as well that Valencia will be in direct talks with Tottenham today to complete the Bryan Gil signing on a straight loan. Spurs will make the final decision in the coming hours. Again, I assume when there is more clarity on where Dejan Kulusevski will be plying his trade next season. To everyone who's subscribing as well, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. Sky Sports confirm as well that a deal is being negotiated between Tottenham and Valencia. Matteo Moretto says Bryan Gil is winning the race against AC Milan's Samu Castillejo and may end up signing for Valencia on loan. Rudy Galletti says Gil is Valencia's first choice. And as I mentioned there, the possible transfer of Kulusevski to Tottenham would allow this deal to happen. Pedro Almeida says that Bryan Gil is now one step away from signing with Valencia on a 6-month loan deal that can be extended for another year. And Estadio Deportivo, I don't know who they are, I don't know how reliable they are, but they say that Tottenham are being tough negotiators in the Bryan Gil to Valencia talks. The club are asking for €1.5 million as a loan deal. They also say that Valencia don't want to pay that price as they'd be covering his wages, and so will try to lower Spurs' demands before deadline day. Now, one player that does look to be on his way out of Tottenham is Giovani Lo Celso, and according to Fabrizio Romano, Lyon and Tottenham have an agreement in place for Gio Lo Celso loan deal, not in doubt as revealed, I think it was yesterday afternoon, but it's still not fully agreed on the player or contract side. So, whatever reason, if it's the wages that are being covered, if it's the whatever's going on with Lo Celso, it hasn't been agreed on that side. But as far as the clubs go, a deal has been agreed. Villarreal have actually now entered the race as well to try sign Lo Celso on loan. L'Equipe from the French side of things say that Lyon's agreed loan for Lo Celso will not have an option to buy. So very important there, will not have an option to buy. Good to see some Juve fans in the live chat. There's Alberto. Thanks for tuning in. The French club will pay half of his salary. The player just needs to now say yes to the move. So Lo Celso contemplating at the moment. Maybe he doesn't want to go to France. I mean, I'm sure there's a number of different reasons why he may not have said yes yet. But as I mentioned earlier, with Lyon and potentially wanting to bring in Bentancur, first of all, L'Equipe say that Lo Celso is the Lyon priority to replace Bruno Guimaraes, and David Ornstein has said yesterday that a deal for Lyon is likely to be one of Bentancur, Lo Celso, or further options as they scour the market to replace Guimaraes. So it kind of makes sense for Lyon if they go for Lo Celso and allow us to get Bentancur, because it would work out in an easier way, I imagine. Instead of going straight for a tug of war with Spurs for Bentancur, if they just go for their, whether it's a priority option or if it's on a level footing with them for Bentancur, it's just easier if they get that done, because we would be willing to let him go as we get in the player from Juventus. A few less reliable reports than that. Tuna Mercato say that Paratici is working in these hours to sign Diego Carlos. He has proposed Lo Celso to Sevilla as part of the deal. That's not true, as we mentioned with Diego Carlos a while ago, but he's proposed Lo Celso to Sevilla as part of the deal. Excuse me. And the Daily Mail say that Lyon and Tottenham have agreed terms on a loan deal for Lo Celso and are waiting on the player to accept the deal, whilst Valencia are closing on a loan agreement for Bryan Gil. It's the Daily Mail. I mean, they seem to be right because everyone else is saying it, but I wouldn't take that as gospel. On Steven Bergwijn, his future still not completely decided. Mike Verwij of The Telegraph in the Netherlands, who, as I've said, has been right on top of this deal from day one, says that Levy and Overmars are in direct contact for Bergwijn and is slowly getting closer to an agreement. Erik ten Hag thinks the Spurs forward would guarantee Ajax the league title. However, time is running out. To be honest, I don't think a deal is going to happen there. It just seems though that there's not enough done for Spurs, and it's too late in the window to let go of a player who Conte has said is in his plans to play in a certain position, and of course, has earned us 3 points in the last couple of weeks. But we'll have to wait and see how that one pans out. Joe Rodon is a player that I think kind of we want to offload, but haven't really been able to find solid interest in. Matt Law says that defender Joe Rodon could be targeted by Brighton should Newcastle United complete a late move for Dan Burn. And Brighton, I think, today rejected Newcastle's second offer for Dan Burn, which is £10 million. But if that deal does happen, Brighton's option for a replacement could be Joe Rodon. The Daily Mail say that Brighton and Levante are interested, saying the same, that Brighton are interested in taking Rodon should Newcastle get Dan Burn. And on Dele Alli, I saw a question there a second ago. It's very quiet in the Dele Alli front. Romano has reiterated that he thinks he will leave on loan, but the only real report about a team interested at the moment is from The Sun. Obviously not true. Says Frank Lampard wants Tottenham outcast Dele Alli to be his first signing at Goodison Park as he closes in on the Everton job. There's one pointless report as well to mention at the end. The Daily Mail say the two unnamed Premier League clubs are closing in on an £18 million deal to sign FC Barcelona winger Ousmane Dembele. So I mean, I don't think it's Tottenham. That's assuming that is true from the Daily Mail, which I wouldn't bank on it. But yeah, it's very busy. It's very busy at the moment. And look, as I've said all along, I understand the frustration from Tottenham fans about deals not getting done, but when we're hearing reports that things are very busy, the fact that we haven't completed a signing, that we haven't officially announced it, doesn't mean it's not busy. 99.9% of these deals go on behind the scenes, and all of the negotiations, all the medicals, all that stuff does go on behind the scenes. It's the very last 0.1% of it that is what we see. So it is very busy, and we can see that with, I know there's a lot of people who are very very suspicious and very wary of these transfer rumours that go around, but it all depends on what you listen to and what you read. And that's what I try to do in the channel, bring the most reliable reports, like the Romanos, the Agrestis, Ornstein, DiMarzio, Simon Stone, Alistair Gold, all that. We try to bring, I do bring those most reliable reports, try and filter out what is right and what is wrong. At the end of the day, it's still, at best an educated guess, because we don't know. We really don't know. And with Fabio Paratici, we could be told priority is Adama Traore. We've made a bid for Adama Traore. We're pushing to complete a deal for Adama Traore, where behind the scenes the priority could be Tariq Lamptey. Now I know that's not happening. We're not going to get Lamptey, but it's always going to be even a little bit more different with Paratici. And it's frustrating. Of course it's frustrating. And we're going to have less patience with Paratici because of the pain of the previous tenure and because of what Daniel Levy has put us through in the last however long. So it's why I've said I will wait till 11:01 p.m. on Monday to judge the transfer window. Because we could have the worst 30 days in the world, but if you get Bentancur, Kulusevski, and a centre-back, for example, on the last day, well, all of a sudden it's a good window, and it's worth it. Enoch out, Levy out says, Arsenal are signing Isaac, we are signing 2 rejects. Sorry, my audio nearly froze there for a sec. I don't think Arsenal are signing Alexander Isak. That's way too big a deal. That's way too good a deal for Arsenal to get done, in my opinion. I know he's been seen in London with Adnan Januzaj, but I really don't think there's anything to that. I don't think it's going to happen. If it does, I'll hold my hands up. Will be a brilliant deal for Arsenal, but I'm not exactly worried that it is, to be honest. So I wouldn't get too upset about that. We're not signing 2 rejects. I think we're signing 2 players who. It's hard. It's what I'm about to say makes it sound like they're rejects, but they're not the best players for Juventus right now. I mean, they're still very good players, and I mean, there's a reason that Kulusevski was brought to Valencia from wherever else he was, and Bentancur has played an important part in Juve's time over the last couple of years. I remember him playing against us in the Champions League for Juventus, and he was quite good. But yeah, like I said, let's judge this window Monday night, Tuesday morning. And actually see, what's happening and where things are going to pan out. And again, it relies on outgoings. It looks like there are a few in place to happen, and let's hope things go our way in the last couple of days, because that certainly hasn't happened in the window so far. Now, there's 740 people watching live, which is absolutely the biggest numbers we've hit on a show that doesn't have Fabrizio Romano in this window so far. So please do hit that like button if you haven't already. Let's check how many likes we're on. While I'm checking, hit that subscribe button as well for more of these updates throughout the rest of the transfer window, and to get involved in the live chat, and hit that notification bell so you get notified when we upload or go live. We're on 150 likes. Let's get that to 250 with 737 people here. I'm sure we can do that. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. But for now, and as always, thanks for watching.